initial report.
Okay, we will first have the question and answer portion with General Padilla.
Okay.
We now welcome Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Padilla. Ernesto Abella.
Yes. Good morning. I would like to welcome you to Bangon Marawi and Mindanao. We'd like to begin with General Padilla.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I think it's really a Friday today. Everybody wants to early go. But that's a happy signal because everybody's looking forward to a good weekend, I hope. And similarly, we are as well. And over in Marawi, our forces are still committed to their mandate and their task. And before I go to the Q&A, I'd just like to provide you the update for today. Today is 11 August. It's the 81st day of the rebellion in Marawi. And as of 7 p.m. last night, our forces on the ground from Joint Task Force Marawi reports that the number of enemy killed has increased by 4, which is 552. Civilians killed because of terrorist atrocities remain at 45. Firearms recovered also have remained unchanged, and they still remain at 610 high-powered firearms recovered. Civilians rescued as well remain the same at 1,728 in the absence of any new rescues. Buildings cleared. As of yesterday, we were able to clear 15, and the most recent, again, 15 other facilities. For the number of our killed in action, it has remained unchanged at 128. By the way, the additional 3 from the previous report a few days ago were because of our wounded perishing as a result of their wounds. The status of cash donations as of 3 p.m. yesterday, the account for Marawi AFP casualties stand at 98,866,334.23 centavos. Those for Marawi IDPs, the account stands at 933,615.21 centavos. These are the latest that we have for the update regarding Marawi, the rebellion in Marawi. I am now open for your questions, but before I do answer some of your questions, I'd like to just clarify something that is not related to martial law in Mindanao or the Marawi incident, but a request on the part of the Armed Forces and the Chief of Staff personally, that the recent news about having an incentive for reports and information provided by civilians and other partners who will lead to the neutralization or the arrest of any member of the NPAs, particularly in the island of Negros, which was alluded to him, is not a policy of the armed forces nor of government, but an initiative on the part of the local government, which was started and reported to by the 3rd Infantry Division General John Aying recently in his meetings with the local government. We do welcome this initiative on the part of the local government, particularly in Negros, because we know that they are already fed up with the abuses that are being committed and the violent activities that are being done by this armed group, which has degenerated into a bandit group, primarily concentrating on extortion and arson. So we hope that this local government initiative would be duplicated by other local governments in other areas who face similar problems, to provide the motivation and the support to all our hapless citizens in affected areas who may want to share. And also the reason for Mindanao having its own AFP text hotline that we announced previously is also to get those information coming from the citizenry who may want to go direct and provide this information so that we can execute appropriate measures immediately to address the security problems. That is all, and I'm now open for your questions.
First question, Maricel Halili, TV5.
See, it's really a Friday.
Sir, good morning. Sir, speaking of NPA, Congressman Zarate expressed concern saying that the bounty might lead to money-making rackets for some bounty hunters. Is this a cause of concern for AFP?
Well, first off, that's why we made the announcement that it is not a policy or an order from our headquarters, because we don't have funds for this. We don't have any allocations to put up a bounty to motivate our citizens to do it. Now, local governments, they do have sources and are free to do it because they are in fact chairing the Peace and Order Council in their respective areas. So any kind of initiative that they may wish to do to strengthen their security posture against bandits, criminal elements, and other armed groups to protect their citizens and their constituents is up to them, and we will support it. That's why we welcome the move. On the aspect that was raised, whether it will create bounty hunters, no. Payments are not given unless the information provided was proven to have been accurate, and it led to the arrest or neutralization of unknown suspect. So if these people have arrest orders that have been issued already to them and have been identified and seen somewhere and were reported and led to their arrest, then the bounty will be provided.
Will this in any way affect yung operation natin sa Mindanao? Kasi sir, paano kapag, for example, may pumasok doon sa battlefield, or ano yung assurance na hindi magkakamali doon sa identity? Kasi isa din sa mga cause of concern nila, baka mamaya palabasin lang na rebelde yung NPA, yung individual, and yet hindi naman pala.
Ang informasyon naman po na nakakarating sa atin ay dinadaan sa proseso. Hindi ho basta-basta ginagawa ang pag-aresto o pag-neutralize sa isang known criminal pag hindi pa po na-verify na ito yung talagang taong na pinagtutuunan natin ng pansin sa lugar na yun.
Sir, last on my part, meron pong nakita kahapon na photos of Isnilon Hapilon and Maute leaders. May we get details about these photo? Meron na po ba tayong information kung gaano ka-recent lang yung kuha? And can we consider this as proof of life that nandun pa rin sila inside Marawi?
With the recent advances in technology and potential ways of altering a picture, mahirap magkomento sa mga lumalabas na mga photos hanggat hindi kami nakapagkasagawa ng forensic examination. At doon, malalaman mo kung talagang authentic at recent yung photo. Ang problema dito sa mga naglalabasang ito, maaaring propaganda. So, hindi po kami makapagkomento at hindi namin makumpirma yan hanggat hindi natin naisasagawa itong pagkumpirma na prosesong ito.
But based on the recent report na nakuha ng AFP, nasa na po sila Isnilon Hapilon?
We believe they're still inside the battle area. And the reason why fighting has been intense is potentially we have gone close to where they are hiding.
Thank you, sir.
Next question, please. Joseph Morong, GMA7.
Sir, so North Korea, they've announced the supposed trajectory of the missile that they're going to launch, just in case, against the US, particularly Guam. Are we studying that possibility, and do you think that it can miss its target and probably not naman go to the Philippines, but have some effects on us? Because medyo malapit lang yung Guam.
The closest problem we have ever encountered regarding North Korea's launch of missiles was during the testing stage when they launched a missile that they were testing towards this part of the Pacific. And we don't have anti-missile systems to put it down or to guard our country against such kinds of threat. What we do, however, is monitor it, and as you have mentioned, any kind of telltale effect from that kind of incident is something we have to prepare for. Kaya on the civil defense side, pinaghahandaan natin kasi maaaring bumagsak yung debris sa side ng Pacific. Kaya ang tatamaan yung mga coastal areas ng ating bansa. Doon sa testing na yon, sa testing stage. Ngayon, dito sa panibagong banta na to, it's a source of concern. That's why the ASEAN leaders or foreign ministers discussed it thoroughly and came up with a statement. But we don't see this as potentially hitting us in any way because it is directed towards an outer island in the Pacific itself. So whatever fallout it may have, maybe because of the debris if it disintegrates up there. So these are things that are still in our preparations kasi ang civil defense side naman natin, handa naman pong, may preparasyon naman po sila sa mga ganitong pagkakataon.
So given North Korea's technological history, the most that we can expect, the worst that we can expect is that some debris may...
If ever it disintegrates in the atmosphere, potentially it would have shattered debris that may scatter around in the area or its trajectory. So it could hit some northern coastal areas. So we have to forewarn our citizens to be on the lookout. But that's something that we see as remote because the recent ASEAN meeting, we saw the presence of the foreign minister of North Korea. If they are intently going to do what they have been announcing, then the foreign minister would not have gone there. So I think there is still a lot of room for dialogue, a lot of room for talks, and we see this as a positive sign. So we may just be in the middle of a verbal tussle between some countries.
All right, sir, thank you.
Any more follow-up questions on North Korea? Yes, Tuesday New, DZBB.
General Padilla, sir. Sir, as of this early, sir, meron na ba tayong mga coastal areas na sinasabi nyo na identify na po ba kung ano yung possible coastal areas sa atin na posibleng matamaan nitong mga debris?
Wala pa po. Kaya nga sabi ko, kinakailangan parang suriin ito. Kasi sa tingin naman natin, hindi naman po talaga ganap na tatamaan ng Pilipinas kung sakasakali. At yung mga debris, ibang direksyon po ang takbo niya. Kaya lang yung sinasabi natin, kung sakaling mag-disintegrate o sumabog ito ng kusa sa atmosphere, maaaring may mga maliliit na parte na tumama.
Thank you.
On North Korea, any more? Yes, JP Bancito.
Hi, General Padilla. Good morning po.
Good
Sir,
morning.
there were reports yesterday by Reuters that the U.S. has allegedly entered into 12 nautical miles of mischief reef in Palawan, South China Sea. Sir, how does the military view this freedom of navigation operations, and how do we intend to possibly tackle this move?
Well, freedom of navigation is guaranteed.
Yes.
And anyone can do it. So we just need to monitor, and as long as it is within the bounds set forth by international law, then it is all right.
Next question.
Yes, sir, as a follow-up, so na-coordinate po ba ang US government sa Philippine government regarding these operations? May reports, would you verify reports kung galing sa Philippines yung destroyer na ginamit?
Sa pagkakaalam ko po, hindi po galing sa atin. At hindi ko po batid kung nagkaroon ng coordination.
Sir, yung mga freedom of navigation operations, nakakatulong po ba ito sa stability ng region?
Well, as I mentioned, freedom of navigation is guaranteed. Anyone can do it. So any navy, any merchant ship can fly these routes. They can pass and claim innocent passage. So kung ano man po ang nangyayari dyan, maaring na ililink lang sa atin dahil nasa may malapit sa atin nangyayari. But we see this as a guaranteed exercise of the right to navigation.
All right, any more questions for General Padilla? Thank you, General Padilla. We will now have ASEC Purisima for updates on Task Force Bangon Marawi.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Malacanang Press Corps. I'll provide an update on the efforts of Task Force Bangon Marawi for the rehabilitation and recovery of Marawi City. Next slide, please. The Singapore Ministry of Defense handed over relief items and equipment for the IDPs from Marawi City and other affected localities. The Singapore Air Force facilitated the transport of relief items and equipment via C-130 on August 7 at Laguindingan Airport. Tents, blankets, medical supplies, portable lights, and water filtration units were donated to the Philippines and were received by the Office of Civil Defense. The relief items and equipment were immediately transported to Iligan City for eventual distribution. On the status of ASEAN relief distribution, as of 6 August 2017, a total of 360 personal hygiene kits and 1 water filtration unit were distributed to the IDPs in evacuation centers located in Iligan City and Pantauragat, while a total of 1,655 personal hygiene kits, 432 family kits, and 432 kitchen sets were provided for the home-based IDPs. On CSO engagement, on 8 and 9 August 2017, the task force conducted a forum in Iligan City called Civil Society Stakeholders Shared Visioning and Strategic Planning for Marawi Crisis Response and Rebuilding. It was attended by Marawi and Iligan LGUs, CSOs, academe, community, and religious leaders from Marawi City and other affected areas. Discussions during the forum delved on the recommendations, comments, and reactions on the process of rebuilding Marawi City. Task Force Bangon Marawi Executive Director Undersecretary Cesar Llano presented the updates on the actions taken and plans for the reconstruction, recovery, and rehabilitation of Marawi City and other affected areas. Task Force Bangon Marawi recognizes the importance of engaging and consulting various sectors, particularly political and religious leaders who are well-versed with Maranao culture and practices. Quoting from Undersecretary Llano, we will give a positive meaning to the acronym IDP, and that is inclusivity through dialogue and participation, and that is what we have been doing since Task Force Bangon Marawi was established. During the forum, Undersecretary Llano acknowledged the participation of CSOs in all the efforts of the task force, and the task force acknowledges the partnerships offered by representatives of IDPs, traditional leaders of Marawi City, people's organizations, sectoral organizations, and civil society organizations. And the task force also considers and takes into consideration the inputs of communities and organizations in every endeavor of the task force as defined by its mandates and responsibilities. Other activities initiated in relation to the reconstruction, rehabilitation, and recovery efforts for Marawi City are the joint planning workshop for recovery, rehabilitation, and peace building for the city of Marawi and the province of Lanao del Sur, spearheaded by UNDP, which was held in Cagayan de Oro on 8 and 9 August 2017 and participated in by various government agencies and members of the academe, and as well as the regular task force executive meetings to discuss updates on each subcommittee, including the processes for accessing funds as well as communication strategies. Thank you. That's my update for today.
Q&A.
Any questions for ASEC? Yes, Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN.
Good morning, sir. Sir, local officials in Marawi have declared a mental crisis after residents displayed signs of mental illness. Are we planning to intensify our response or have a more aggressive form of intervention to address these issues?
We are continuously assessing the situation on the ground, and we respond as needed. We understand that the provision of mental health and psychosocial services, or MHPSS, for IDPs in Marawi City are ongoing. Okay, and services include psychosocial first aid, stress debriefing, psychiatric treatments to varying age groups, and to date, approximately 30,000 persons have availed of these services. Again, some of these are basic services, basic like psychological first aid and all that, consultations with experts. So, ina-address to. Alam naman natin na dahil matagal na ang ating mga kababayan sa evacuation centers, syempre meron rin silang mga nararamdaman at ina-address to. Ang importante dito, ina-address to ng ating mga ahensya, no, kagaya ng DOH. I should note that there are few recorded cases of mental issues, but these are addressed by DOH, no? And the provision of mental health and psychosocial services, including necessary medicines, are continuously being provided to our IDPs. So ina-address natin to. The long and short of it, we're addressing this. Of course, we cannot prevent this from happening, but nandun ang ating tao on the ground, ating mga ahensya on the ground, ang ating social workers, ang ating health workers, nandun sila at ina-address nilang pangangailangan ng ating mga IDPs.
Next. So, do we acknowledge the possibility na yung problema would possibly be bigger than what we expected, considering ang tagal na nitong nangyari and it could be very traumatic to them?
That's why there's always that possibility, but we're addressing and preventing it. Remember our stance whenever there are disasters, whether natural or man-made, proactive tayo. We do not wait to respond. We prepare in order to prevent anything from escalating. No? And that's our posture there. Every day nandun ang ating mga ahensya on the ground at ina-assess nila mga pangangailangan. Kung may dagdag na tulong na kailangang ibigay sa ating mga IDPs, ibibigay natin yun.
Sir, yung mga cases na identified na mental health problems, anong mga na-manifest nila, sir?
I don't have the full details on that, and that may be technical in nature. I wouldn't want to get into that. But we're addressing this, at handa ang ating gobyerno para dito. No? Hindi naman ito ang first instance na nagre-respond tayo sa mga ganitong klaseng sitwasyon, at handa ang ating mga ahensya para dito.
Sir, 30,000 availed of psychosocial
again,
counseling?
this includes first aid. This includes first aid, yung consultations, kung meron silang nararamdaman or siguro kung nalulungkot man sila, meron tayong mga social workers dyan, meron tayong mga health workers. Kasama yun doon, hindi lang yung mental illness na sinasabi. No? That may be at an elevated level. And again, that's few and far in between. Pero yung regular support na binibigay natin in terms of mental health and psychosocial support, psychosocial interventions, kasama yon doon sa figure na binanggit ko. So this may be as basic as kwentuhan, dialogue, anong nararamdaman mo, ano pang pwede naming ibigay, ano ang mga gusto nyo pang, ano mga pangangailangan nyo. Kasama naman yan sa psychosocial support na binibigay natin. The mere presence of our agencies and workers on the ground affirm our proactive stance to address the situation of our IDPs.
Pero sir, I understand that those who manifest signs of mental illness is different from those who are undergoing stress because of the trauma that they... meron po ba tayong... Are we going beyond first aid or parang basic response?
We are prepared. We are prepared to do that if it is needed. And if there are documented cases, we will respond accordingly. I just don't have the figures of the documented cases of mental illness per se that needs an elevated level of intervention. But the figure I mentioned, the 30,000 that I mentioned, kasama na yun, lahat yun eh. Lahat yun, from the most basic. So hindi ito alarming. This shouldn't be alarming. Because normal to in the sense that kung may pangangailangan sila, tinutugunan natin yon at different levels. Even at the lowest or at the most basic levels, tinutugunan natin ito.
Follow-up? Joseph Morong?
Sir, dun lang sa 30,000, no? So, ano yung mga nature ng inilalapit nila sa inyo? Mostly psychosocial. May mga medical ba dyan na isinama nyo rin?
As I understand, this includes psychosocial first aid, stress debriefing, and psychiatric support. So ito yung mga basic, as I understand it, ito yung mga basic levels of intervention na pangangailangan. I'm not competent to discuss the higher levels of interventions needed. And as I understand it, these are few, but these are being addressed. Okay, I don't have the exact figures of those elevated levels of treatments needed or provided. But as I understand, these are just few, although they are being addressed. We're of course taking them very seriously. But for the most part, we're addressing the basic needs of our IDPs there.
So yung 30,000 yung sir, psychosocial service, we're excluding yung mga medical help, yung mga...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just basic. Kung may kailangan sila, kung meron silang iniinda na kahit ano, we're supporting that. We're providing response to that at different levels.
Okay. So you mentioned that there are some medyo elevated cases. Ano yung, how would you characterize those cases? And what have we done as a matter of intervention?
I don't have detailed information about
Okay.
that as of now. I will prepare for that in the next few briefings. But I guess we would have to address that to the more competent workers who could address that in greater detail.
Any more follow-up? So more questions on Bangon Marawi? Ms. Hannah Sanchez, SMNI.
Hi, sir. Sir, na-raise na po ba, o in-address niyo na ba yung na-raise ng Philippine Sports Commission na they find it alarming na yung mga bata doon sa Marawi o nasa evacuation center na sa tingin nila hero ang ISIS? May ina-address po ba natin like yung needs nila sa pag-iisip or yung mga pananaw nila sa buhay, lalo na lumalaki sila sa ganong klaseng environment? Ano pong ginagawa natin na intervention po?
Yeah, I would like to believe that that is part of our psychosocial interventions.
So kasama sila sa 30,000?
To understand what they're feeling. Kasi going down to the basics, kailangan nating intindihin kung anong nararamdaman nila. At kasama rin yan sa ating PCNA. Kasama yan dun sa sinabi ko previously na human side ng ating post-conflict needs assessment. Kasi we're not just rebuilding a city, we're rebuilding the lives of people and communities. So kung sa tingin ng ating mga kababayan doon, ng ating mga IDPs, hero nga ang ISIS, for example, alarming nga yan. At alam yan ng ating mga tao on the ground, ng ating mga workers, at ina-address yan dahil hindi tama yon, obviously, at napaka-alarming nun. Kaya kasama yon sa ating interventions. And moving forward, kasama yan doon sa human aspect ng ating PCNA. Dahil yung PCNA, lahat ng aspeto, hindi lang physical rebuilding ng city o ng mga bahay, ngunit kasama doon yung rebuilding ng mga ating kababayan at ng ating mga komunidad.
May mga coming from the private sector po ba, sir, na nag-express ng tulong po para dun lang po sa sitwasyon ng mga bata doon?
Yes, I believe so. Merong tayong, alam natin na merong mga medical missions na ginaganap by private, na ginagawa ng ating mga private sector organizations. At marami pang involved dito. Yun nga ang napakaganda dahil napaka-inclusive nitong ating rehab and recovery efforts. Kahit initial stages pa lang, napakarami nang nag-express ng tulong. Kasama dito yung ating mga private sector organizations at civil society organizations. Dahil gusto nila makatulong at tayo sa task force, very open tayo dito dahil wala namang monopoly of knowledge and competence ng government to do all this. This requires a whole of nation and whole of society approach at alam natin yon at tinatanggap natin ang tulong na kayang ibigay ng ating mga private sector organizations at CSOs, lalo na dun sa mga alarming observations. Tinatanggap natin yon at ina-address natin yon isa-isa.
All right, any more questions? Maricel Halini.
Sir, just a quick follow-up. I know that you mentioned earlier that you don't have enough details about the cases on mental issues, but at least have you received information if these few or if some of them were already brought to mental hospitals or if there's a need for them to be brought there?
I don't have that information now, unfortunately, but all I can say is that we're addressing the situation on the ground. Whatever their needs are, makakaasa po ang ating mga kababayan na lahat ng pangangailangan nila, ibibigay natin. Kung may kailangan na heightened or elevated level of response or intervention, ibibigay natin yon. Kung kailangan ng most basic, ibibigay rin natin yon. So, I don't have information on that. I may have information about that in future briefings, but all I can assure our people is that we're providing everything we can for our IDPs on the ground.
And you mentioned that this is not an alarming situation, so meaning you don't consider this as a mental crisis in Marawi?
I wouldn't characterize it as a mental crisis, to be honest. And because a crisis is something that you cannot address or you are not addressing or you do not recognize. we are recognizing the situation on the ground. Your task force, even the government and the private sector, we're recognizing that there are needs of our people on the ground, of our IDPs, and we're responding to those needs. So in that sense, this is not a crisis because we know what their needs are and we are responding the best way we can to their needs.
All right, any more questions for ASEC Purisima? Last 3 questions. Yes, Henry Uri and Joseph Moro.
Hi, Asik Purisima. Do you have any recorded amount or figures kung magkano na po yung total damages na incurred related po dito sa war between the MOTI and the AFP?
Wala pa tayong total figures on the physical damage, no? Kasi hindi pa tayo nakakapasok fully sa Marawi City, no? Inaantay natin yung go signal ng ating AFP, ng ating military organization, para rin safe yung ating mga assessors on the ground. Kasi napakahirap magbigay ng rough estimate. Maski rough estimate, mahirap kahit sabihin mong ballpark figure. Mas maganda ang tignan na natin yung sitwasyon talaga pag pwede na tayong pumunta doon. So, what we're focusing now on our PCNA ay yung mga kaya nating i-address, kagaya ng yung human side ng PCNA, ng ating post-conflict needs assessment, yung mga pangangailangan ng communities, anong gusto nila moving forward. Siyempre, kinukuha rin natin ang inputs nila. So, the human side or the intangible side, so to say, yun ang ina-address natin ngayon. Once we have the all clear from the AFP to proceed, kasi understandably, kailangan natin ng clearing operations dyan bago tayo pumasok sa city or sa ground zero, so to say. So, inantay natin yung go signal ng AFP para hindi rin naman madisgrasya ang ating mga assessors.
So can we say that the rehabilitation will be finished before Christmas or early next year?
Mahirap sabihin, mahirap magbigay ng deadline. Gagawin natin ito ng mabilis, no? Definitely. Ngunit gagawin rin natin ito ng tama. So we will assess the situation. We're assessing it daily, weekly, monthly. So malalaman natin kung meron na kaming timeline na ibibigay natin ito. Ngunit by the nature of the rehabilitation efforts, mahirap nga magbigay ng timeline. We can give targets, of course, but we should understand, our people should understand that these are targets that may move depending on the situation. Pero makakaasa ho ang lahat na gagawin natin ito ng mabilis, ngunit gagawin rin natin ito ng tama.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Joseph Morong.
Sir, short lang yung sa NOCOR, how are we dealing, how are we thinking about that threat?
Well, your OCD is closely monitoring the situation. We will coordinate with the DND, AFP, and relevant government agencies and make necessary assessments in order to prepare appropriate contingency plans, alerts, and warnings for the awareness and protection of our civilian populace. And we assure our civilian populace, we assure our people that preparations are being made for any eventuality, and we will inform communities that may be affected.
Okay, last question. All right, thank you, ASEC Purisima. We will now have Spokesperson Abella.
We only have a few statements to make. One, Quezon Avenue Flood Control Project opens today. On August 7, the Department of Public Works and Highways led the opening of the 165 million Quezon Avenue Flood Control Project in a bid to improve the traffic situation. This includes 2 additional lanes over the newly constructed flood control structure, spanning a total of 1.1 kilometers. The 2 additional lanes measuring 820.62 linear meters has been completed due to the department's implementation of a 24/7 construction scheme to speed up infrastructure development. This will serve as an alternative route to EDSA and to Timog Avenue. Also, on the Senate Special Committee on Marawi, the President has called on all sectors to contribute and support in the recovery, rebuilding, and rehabilitation efforts of the Islamic city of Marawi. We therefore welcome Senate Resolution 457, which establishes the Senate Special Committee on Marawi, which would complement the work of the Executive's Task Force Bangon Marawi. Indeed, the extent of the damage in Marawi and the suffering of its displaced people need everyone's assistance and cooperation. This is the time to unite as one nation in rebuilding Marawi, which is now in ruins, into a model Islamic city. We're open to a few questions.
First question, Maricel Halili of TV5.
Sir, Did the President ask Customs Commissioner Faeldon to go on leave?
As far as I know, no. There's no directive from him to go on leave.
How about the other officials of Bureau of Customs, sir?
That's not the President's style to tell people what to do.
Did they file resignation? I mean, some of them.
I believe so. I don't know if they've filed or what, but they have, right? Okay. So, but it's not under the directive of the President.
Did the palace receive the resignation?
As of this moment, as of before press briefing, we have not been informed regarding those letters.
Will the President accept the resignation, sir?
That is up to him.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next question, please. Teo de Guzman. Microphone natin.
Morning, sir. May we have your reaction po at the back, sir? A big
Yes.
guy, sir. May we have your reaction po? Sinabi po kasi, parang kino-question po ni Senator Antonio Trillanes, yung pananahimik ni President Duterte doon sa issue ng pagkakapuslit ng 6.4 billion worth of illegal drugs mula sa BOC. So he's saying na bakit tahimik ang presidente, hindi siya nagagalit kay Trillanes, pero droga yung hindi siya nagagalit kay Faeldon, pero droga naman yung issue.
Well, as the President said, he does not intervene in matters like this. He will allow the process to unfold. So I think it's not unusual that he's quiet about that. It's simply saying that he will not interfere because the process has begun.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next question. Yes, Trisha Macas.
Sir, just to follow up, I asked this yesterday. Senator Trillanes said na may backer daw yung drug lord na involved in the customs 6.4 shabumes sa government. He didn't say that it was President Duterte, but he said it could be close to the President. Can we get the palace reaction to this, sir?
We do not have any, he hasn't made any direct statements. We do not indulge in speculations.
Okay, sige, sir. Thank you.
Next question, other topic. Yes, Pia Gutierrez.
Good morning, sir. Sir, during the President's speech last Wednesday, he mentioned about appointing 24 commissioners to draft a new constitution.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a policy, na, sir, or a suggestion on the part of the President? Is this the track that the government is going to take, sir?
Well, apparently that this is, well, let me see. The President and the leaders of Congress have expressed support for a constitutional commission to assist in drafting amendments, and several groups have already been conducting research on fora on federalism, presidential and parliamentary system. With the consensus at the top, the charter change mandated may now accelerate. So, it's something that the President and the Congress have already expressed support for. Okay.
So, parang advisory body lang siya, sir.
Which one?
Yung 24-man commission, sir. It will act as an advisory body, sir, to advise.
Let me see. Okay. The CONCOM, which is supposed to be named by technically should be named by as early as September, giving it and the Constitutional Assembly 6 months to revise the charter by. In other words, they will be working. It acts as a what do you call it? As advisory. Yes. I will. Don't take me that. I can check on it. Okay.
Meron na po ba, sir, naiisip si President Duterte?
Well, as far as we have heard, I think he prefers ex-justices and a majority of ex-justices and a minority of civilians. Pero as of the actual names, wala pa kaming natatanggap.
All right, follow-up? Any follow-up?
Yes.
Other? Yes.
Sir, are we talking about the EO he signed in December to create this consultative body? Is this what we're talking about?
I will confirm that, but I suppose that is. At this stage, I'm assuming that is.
Kasi sir, it was signed in December. What's taking so long? Why hasn't he appointed the members of the body?
That the reason why I cannot answer.
Okay, last 3 questions. Joseph Morong.
Sir, yun pong sa freedom of navigation
Yes.
action ng US, the Chinese side said that it violated international and Chinese law and severely, hanapin ka na yung quote, sir. Seriously, they said that it violated international and Chinese law and seriously harmed Beijing's sovereignty and security. What do we think of that, sir?
We're not the spokesman for the Chinese. So, on the other hand, in the words of Secretary de Lonsana, the Philippines has no objection regarding the presumed innocent passage of seacraft, okay? And that there is, of course, the freedom of navigation. In other words, from our side, we find no objection.
When you say no objection, we don't...
Don't find it objectionable.
Okay, we don't. When we say it's not objectionable, so bang, sir, we don't share the Chinese perspective that it violates their whatever international law and Chinese laws that they claim.
We state our position.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank
Okay,
you.
last 2. Yes.
Related to that, sir, may mga reclamation activities further north of the Philippines?
Regarding those alleged, okay. First, it would be best if this apparent evidence can be vetted for accuracy, if only to preserve the trust and confidence that all disputants over the territory in South China Sea, South China, West Philippine, North Natuna Seas need to have in each other going forward. The continuing reclamation and militarization of disputed territory in these waters, if the report and photos from a Washington-based think tank are accurate, these can be taken up by the ASEAN in future discussions. So we defer to ASEAN.
All right, last 2. Yes, Maricel Halili.
Sir, quick follow-up lang dun sa statement ni Presidente. Yung dun sa mga police na binigyan niya ng bounty, meron na po bang shortlist na hawak yung Malacanang? Identified na ba kung sino yung mga possible na police involved dun sa mga paruhinog?
Wala po tayong information regarding that matter.
Kahit po yung numbers lang?
Wala po.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Last question, Chris Jose. And Dina Mendez.
Sir, regarding lang po doon sa BOC scandal, do you think it's about time na magsagawa na po ng lifestyle check sa mga officials para po malaman kung paano po umangat yung mga buhay nila?
Kasama po siguro yan. Kasama po talaga yan yung lifestyle checks. It's not a question of my opinion or what, but I believe that's part of the process, checking a lifestyle.
Thank you po.
Tina Mendez.
Hi, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Follow up lang sa statement nyo dun sa reclamation. I think, if I got it right, nung press ko ni Secretary Cayetano the other day, dun sa conclusion ng ASEAN, sinabi niya na the ASEAN need not tackle the issue of reclamation because there is no reclamation happening right now. That's the statement of the Secretary. How would you reconcile your statement now?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but apparently he made that statement in context of Philippine claims. Okay, not within Philippines. Walang nire-reclaim ang China regarding matters pertaining to us. Okay, patungkol sa atin. Pero kung yung katulad ng mga bagong mga developments, that will have to be taken up on the future ASEAN discussions.
All right. Last question, Trisha Macas.
Okay. Super last.
Sir, just to follow up on my question earlier, Senator Trillanes also said that President Duterte can't let go of Customs Commissioner Fildon. Is this true, sir? Can the President let go of Commissioner Fildon?
It will be his prerogative to do so.
But is it true, sir, that the President can't let go of Commissioner Fildon?
I don't know about the can't, but whatever it is, it will have to be the President's decision.
Okay.
It will be mere speculation to say he can't or cannot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ASEC Christopher James Purisima. Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella. Thank you, MPC. Back to the main studios of PTV4 and Radyo Pilipinas.
Yan, pakunti lang yung camera.
I said, those matters which are new developments prior to the statement, after the statement of DFO, SFA, these will have to be taken up. If vetted as being accurate, it will have to be taken up in future ASEAN discussions.
Sir, what if the ASEAN won't...
That's speculation, what if? Okay. Yes. Anything else?
Sir,
yes.
pa tayong info dun sa military channels supposedly backing up the
Wala po tayong, we don't have any information regarding that up to this stage. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Opo. No, I think it's really a departmental move. You know, they resign to their departments. Di ba?
So it doesn't need the president's approval to take it?
As far as I know, I may be wrong, but as far as I know, they're not direct. Those gentlemen are not directly under the president, right? They're under the departments. To the president? Oh, well, let's see what that. Okay.
So dapat, sir, if ever there's going to be a decision, it's going to be filed on Senate and President.
That seems to be their logical assumption, unless otherwise. Yeah. This is part of the economic cycle. It's part of the there's nothing to be worried about. It's I've referred this to. There's nothing to be overly concerned with. Our economic fundamentals are still strong. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. No.
Ano meron sa Palawan?
May somebody's somebody's retiring. I forget his name. The local. I'm sorry. The regional command. Hindi ko alam.
Yeah.